Hello, dear students, and welcome to our second lecture series on microeconomics. And I'm your instructor, Jamal Haider. So I welcome you all, and we are following the first preferred book, which is Principles of Economics by Moncrief, which I already discussed in our first lecture, and I will be sending you its material as well. So you don't need to buy the hard copy. If you have the soft copy, it's okay. But if you don't have that, then I will be sending you some reading material as well. Our second preferred book, which is The Principles of Economics by K. Spear and Astor, and we will be following the ninth edition. So if they're going to be like I'm having some extra, material discussing here in our lecture, I would be sending you this material as well, so you don't worry about the textbook and the reading material as well. So anything regarding our previous lecture, anything that confuses you or anything is clear? Fike,
It's clear for me.
Marilyn,
Clear for me.
all others, Subhan, Kim,
All good.
good? Okay, so let's move forward. Today we are starting chapter number 4, which is the market forces of supply and demand. And today we will try to cover demand. So besides this, example, so have you noticed something incredible that whenever, okay, let's follow this book example. So whenever winter is hitting Shanghai or in every area of the world, the prices of t-shirts and shorts are decreasing. And similarly, the prices of warm clothes are increased. You have seen that, and the big brands, they're launching their summer collection right now, but the prices are really high. Why is that? And also, if you happen to visit in the England, London, when weather turns warm in New England, in every summer, prices of hotel rooms rises. So what do you see common in these examples? Some cause and effect, right? So let's revert to our first example. When winter is hitting in Shanghai, prices of t-shirts and shorts are decreasing. Why is that? Because weather is turning cold, and now people don't need to wear t-shirts and shorts. So what's common in that? People are not buying that one. When people are not buying that one, it means people are showing some kind of behavior. And recall our discussion from our first lecture that economy is the study of people behaving with each other, with individual behavior, or when they interact with each and other, right? Study the behavior of people when they interact with each another, right? So some behavior is common here. Similarly, with the prices of warm clothes, people require that one to cover up their bodies, to warm themselves. So prices are rising, but still people want to buy that. So think about yourself. If you are a buyer, purchaser, or a customer, would you like to pay high prices? Guys, I need your participation. Everyone, please. So would you like to buy a thing that, would you like to pay high prices as a
No.
customer? Definitely no, right? Then why you are still buying clothes? Warm clothes. Prices are high, right? Means there is some kind of behavior. And as an economist, we need to study that one, right? So economists are those who also study the behavior of people, right? About the prices, about the choices, right? Similarly, in New England, what happened? When there is a summer and the winter, or when the weather turns warm, why the prices of hotel room rises? Means more people, they go for vacations, right? Hire rooms. So they exert some kind of a behavior. So we see something in common, and I hope if you study before economics, you can name those terms. And these are supply and demand. So supply and demand are the two words that economists use most often, right? We can say that supply and demand are the forces that make market economies work. So those behavior, right, we can explain it through, in economics, through demand and supply. So if you want to know how an event affects the economy, think first about how it will affect demand and supply. Think any of the example and think in terms of demand or supply, right? Any example. For example, hot chocolate, right? In winter. For example, chocolate prices are the same. Hot chocolate, hot chocolate cup, for example, $2 a cup, right? But what happened? People start, showing increased buying behavior when the weather turns cold. So think in terms of demand and supply. So you understand what is demand and what is supply? So the key term here, when we talk about the chapter name, the market forces of demand and supply. So let's first define the market, and then we talk about that. What is demand and what is supply? So supply, hopefully, we'll talk about in our next lecture, but today we'll finish demand in every aspect. So the term supply and demand refers to behavior of people as they interact with one another in competitive markets, right? So one person is showing demand and other person is showing supply. So in competitive market, let's talk about that. First, market. A market is a group of buyers and sellers of particular goods or services. So you are seeing this picture here, right? We call this a market, where there are a group of people who are buying and there are a group of people who are selling things. We call this market. So demand, who create demand? Buyers, right? So buyers creates demand, or buyers determine demand. So whenever the term demand comes to your mind, automatically assume that we're talking about customer's perspective, right? Demand increase or decrease. Who increases demand? Purchaser, buyers. Sellers determines the supply, right? Sellers, producers, right? Suppliers, they create supply for that product, right? And the word, comparative we'll talk about in our coming slide. So if you understand what we discussed, so can you answer this concept checker? So a market is always characterized by, so I'll give you 2 minutes to read all these options and tell me that. So anyone who can answer? Mimi?
Let's see. Wait, I'm reading.
Okay. Pinyo? Nam?
I think
These are kind of questions are exactly exam type question. And after,
it makes sense of buyers and sellers.
so you say
I'll
C.
go C.
Okay. C. Nam,
Is it D?
you said D. Some people are saying D. So this is class discussion. It's not related to your marks and something. I want your participation.
Yeah, I think D.
D. Osama?
From what you just explained, I would say it's C.
Okay, C and D. So most of the students are saying C and D. Sunho? Dijodi?
I think C.
B.
B. Okay. And Marilyn? Osama?
Yeah, I said C. I said C.
Yeah, okay.
In the beginning.
Yeah, I think so. C.
C. Okay, let's talk about that. Answer is C. So a market is always characterized by a high degree of organization. The terminology is always. It's not like that. Sometimes there is no high degree of organization. Right? So if you don't understand the point right now here, don't worry about that. When we talk about the characteristics of markets, so every characteristics of market, we have a separate chapter on that one. So don't worry about that if you don't understand this word here. It's not the case of always. Okay? Yes, there are some organized market. You know, the market opens at 9, closes at 7, but there are some other markets who opens 24 hours a day, like online shopping. You can just place order at 3 a.m., 12 a.m., right? And then B, an individual or small group of individuals who set the price of the product for all the buyers and sellers. It's also not the case, right? Yes, there are some markets in which price is determined by a third party. For example, the government announces that the per ton or per 40 kg of wheat bag is going to cost you, for example,